Hey everyone, Bruce Eckfeldt here. So I wanted to talk to you about execution and 5 typical errors I see a lot of leadership teams make and what you can do to avoid them. So if you want to learn more, stay tuned. Hey everyone, Bruce Eckfeldt here. So I am a strategic leadership coach. So I work with companies on developing really effective high growth strategies and then developing high performance leadership teams to execute them. So one of the things I focus on is execution. So we can create the best strategy in the world, but if we can't execute on it well, we're not going to get very far. So a couple of things that typically happen in execution, or a couple of challenges that happen in execution, I want to cover them here. So one of the first challenges I find is that oftentimes a team does not have a clear strategy. Like, we really don't understand how we're going to win in the market. We don't understand who our core customer is. We don't understand what the competitive landscape looks like. We can't figure out a differentiated position. And if we don't understand our differentiated position, then we're kind of chasing our tails, right? We're trying to implement all sorts of operational plans, operational strategies, without really understanding how we're going to differentiate in the market. And without a clear differentiated strategy, it makes it really difficult to make decisions and get clarity. Now, once you have a differentiated strategy and you understand what your attributes are that you're going to win on, it's really easy to start looking at which operational capabilities, processes, policies, things like that are really going to drive that position, and the things that are not. And we can really start prioritizing and honing our operational plan, our execution plan, to focus on those things. So the first thing is really have a clear strategy. So the second challenge I run into a lot with leadership teams is not having clear roles and responsibilities. Now, you may have a general sense of who's in charge of what, but we really haven't dug into what are the really dividing lines between the functional departments of the business. We haven't really looked at, is there a nice tight alignment of those things? Are there any gaps? Is there a lot of overlap? Those things can cause problems. And so until we really get clear on roles and responsibilities, what success looks like, metrics to measure that success, it's going to be really difficult. We're going to run into kind of step on each other's toes. We're going to actually drop a lot of balls as well. So one of the first things I do when working with the leadership team is figuring out, do we understand what our roles are? Do we understand how we work together? Do we understand the sort of borders between functional areas? And have we really defined them in clear metrics and success criteria? So the third challenge I find with a lot of leadership teams is not having real clear metrics for success, definitions of success criteria, metrics around that. So we can set these goals and we can set objectives in terms of what we want to do, but until we really define what does success look like, things are going to be a little vague. And oftentimes I find the lack of clear and precise execution, disciplined execution, is because people actually have different understandings of what we're actually doing. We may have common language around the goal or what we're trying to achieve. We haven't defined it in clear, objective terms. By doing that, by developing success criteria and metrics around success and these putting numbers to these things, it really starts to kind of get people on the same page. It really aligns work efforts. It clarifies who's doing what are we doing, what are we not doing, and it's really going to help drive discipline execution. So the fourth challenge I find with a lot of teams is they haven't really put in place a clear set of meeting rhythms. Right, so this is the pace, the rhythms that you put in place around meetings and really agendas for those things, and making it clear on which meeting does what and what do you not do in which meeting. So a lot of times I find that they're meeting on some kind of quasi-regular basis, but really don't have an agenda. It ends up being kind of a kitchen sink of issues, everything from kind of tactical things to strategy things. So the things that I like to see in places, we have some kind of annual planning or long-term planning meeting once a year. We've got a quarterly planning meeting, which really sets up our OKRs or our priorities for the next 90 days. We've got a monthly review meeting, which I like to do as kind of a retrospective, making sure things are staying on course. Also, that's an opportunity to do strategy updates. We've got our weekly planning meeting, which really commitments on a 7-day or weekly process. And then our daily huddle, right, which is really where we set our priorities, our commitments for the next 24 hours or from day to day, meeting to meeting, review what's working, what's not, review what we've completed, what we haven't completed. So getting these meetings in place, consistent, regular, clear agendas, really understanding, everyone on the team understanding what do we do in this meeting, what do we not do in this meeting, keeping them clear and concise will really help with execution. If you don't have things in place, things are going to get muddy. We're going to have long meetings. They're not going to be very effective. People are not going to enjoy them, which means they're not going to go. And then we sort of grind things to a halt. So getting a clear set of meeting rhythms in place is going to be key for execution. Finally, the last thing I find to be a real challenge around execution is a lack of accountability. And usually this comes from a lack of specificity of what roles are, what objectives are, having really clear discussions around them, getting buy-in from everyone on the leadership team on what these things are. And once we have buy-in, we can really get to commitment. Once we can get to commitment, we can get to accountability. And so not having these things in place, having things a little loose, not having defined things, not having really the hard discussions we might need to have in terms of really committing to things, hearing people out, making sure that they're enrolled, they have buy-in in it, is really going to drive accountability. So when I see, kind of vague objectives and just no real clarity on what we're getting done, or people just not delivering on what they promised, typically I'm going back to, okay, have we really defined success? Have we had a process of enrollment and buy-in? Typically, if we can go back to those things, get them in place, we'll see a really effective increase in accountability and responsibility in terms of delivery. So those are 5 things that I see typically on teams that are having challenges with executing on strategy. If you want more information, I have an article on this from Inc. Email me, bruce@eckfeldt.com. Happy to send it to you. If you're having problems with execution, email me. Let's chat, figure out kind of where you are, what's working, what's not working. Maybe it's one of these 5, maybe it's something else. I can help diagnose that. This is one of the key roles I do as a coach, is kind of come in and have that perspective, new, fresh set of eyes. You can kind of see some of the underlying kind of patterns that I find in teams that are challenged or struggling with this. So again, if you want to learn more, check out my website, eckfeldt.com, email me, bruce@eckfeldt.com. Figure out what do we need to do to really amp up scaling, amp up execution, really kind of get the results we're looking for. So hopefully those are helpful, help you grow a little bit faster, hopefully with a little less drama.